Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Truth Noir in season 3. Yeah. All right. So, today on the show, I'm having a guest that has his own show on Pasadena Media as well, and very politically minded, socially minded, writes his own music and books, and is overall a weirdo and fellow concerned citizen. So I want to thank him for coming on my show and sitting with me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mr. Dan Niswander, thank you very much. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the show that you do here on Pasadena Media?
Yeah, my name is Dan Niswander. As a musician, I call myself Niswander, and I've been a musician my entire life. Started when I was 5 years old, singing in church, and the Blackwood Brothers came to our church, which was a very famous gospel group and Elvis Presley's favorite group.
Oh, awesome.
So that was the first thing I experienced at 5 years old.
Now, is that the group with the guy with the super deep voice?
Yes, he was in it originally.
I remember him talking about that, yeah.
So it was that was my first exposure to professional music.
Cool. That's a good one to have.
Yeah, and I found out later that they were Elvis Presley's favorite group. So that's how and of course my parents were classically trained, so I got that exposure. And singing first at 5, playing piano at 10. But it took me a long time to finally get around to making professional albums of my own material.
Yeah.
But I finally did it. And
I got another one here.
Lots of demo tapes, but that's the second album, actually. I have a clip from, this is the first album, which is called Revolution of the Heart. And when I first started recording it, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, to be honest. I just wanted to do a recording. As a matter of fact, I just started with this 3-song demo. I thought that's all it was going to be. And I got to record with some of the best musicians in the state of Indiana, including John Mellencamp's drummer, Dane Clark, who had taken over from Kenny Aronoff.
And then he appears on this Revolution of the Heart?
Yes, he's on one track on that album called Chameleon.
Right.
And so I put together a one-man show. It's mostly electronic music with a few tracks that are a full band. And I just started, with keyboard in hand and a stand in the other and a prop bag. Went around to different open mics and did it, and next thing I know, I'm asked to do a warm-up for rock bands, and I was given a variety show at a nightclub that I did once a month. It ended up being for 3 years. And a very short period of time, I went from being nobody in the scene in Indianapolis to being one of the more popular artists, kind of quirky and David Bowie-esque, kind of thing.
Yeah, very cool.
And because I would bring characters into the show and do all kinds of fun things with that, the Hollywood style kind of thing. And people loved the song called Surfing with Jesus that was on the album.
That is a pretty cool song title.
It was one of those magical moments, of things that just kind of pulled together, and I knew somehow people would like it, and they did, Most, like I said, it's mostly electronic, but there are some rock tunes on this album.
Right on.
And I do have a clip.
I believe we do have a clip.
From,
if we could.
It's called Out of Order.
Cue that up and play it. And then this is is it just a music clip or is it like a video?
It's a clip from a music video.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I did the visuals actually in 2018, but the song was written when I was like 19 years old, and then recorded later for this album.
All righty. Well, hey, Magical Control Room guys, do we have that queued up to roll? Alrighty, good stuff, man.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, and so this one was your first album.
First album, Revolution of the Heart.
1999.
Yeah.
And then, so then what changed between then and this one, 2003? This was Adventures in
Wonderland. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
you're Mr. Niswander.
Yeah. Well, actually, nice, but it's
Niswander.
Niswander. Yeah. My grandfather didn't know English, so he thought, I guess, nice was spelled N-I-S.
Oh, okay.
He changed the name. But that album, yeah, between those two albums, I was doing lots of shows, as a one-man show, playing with backing tracks. I had my Moog synthesizer, and I had my digital synthesizer, and I wore crazy costumes and did characters, and then people started coming up to me and said, "Why don't you form a band?" And so I thought about doing that, and then what individually happened was nobody wanted to actually form a band with me. They wanted to be the band. So I thought, okay, so it was a whole different thing, than what I was wanting, what I originally thought I would do, right? Had the Beatles and different Queen or different bands I liked. Each person contributed music, and in that way, as writers and all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
And nobody wanted to do that. They said, no, we want to play your music because we have our own projects we're already doing, right? So I said, okay. So that's what ended up happening. And so the second album was just with all live band people that had played in the band in one time or another. It's all live band music. Cool. Recorded, and then I just got really inspired to write, a bunch of new songs, and made that album. And it also has an insert on the inside where it features like pictures and descriptions of like 10 of my characters that I would do on stage,
cool.
Including a scientist and a stand-up comedian, a heavy metal and singer and a glam rocker, and even Nowman, the superhero of the present moment. So, and then I've got a clip from this album, which is from a live performance I did in 2017 at Kulak's Woodshed in North Hollywood, of a song that people liked a lot called "Read a Book."
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and watch that clip from.
How's everybody doing? Thank you very much, Kulak's. This is great. I've been here before. I used to live down the street, actually. I need love, but that's not all. Something to stimulate my brain. Doesn't have to be that deep. Something to take with me on a plane. I'd like to read a book, but a song that has a hook. Travel to exotic places. I want to read a book. Well, there's always a story to find. Subject matter of any kind. Not just look at the pictures. I want to read a book. Yeah!
Nice, dude, that's fun.
Yeah, I like to. I love books, and.
Well, and you can kind of tell even, and we're gonna watch a clip of the Nowman Show in a little bit, but you can kind of you still maintained that aspect of like switching costumes and playing different characters, and at least in the sizzle reel, like the intro credits.
You can see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. And it was a great time, and the music scene could have been the next Seattle, but. A lot was going on. I got to play at Clear Channel Music Festival that
nice.
Blondie was in, and the Roots, and
cool.
Los Lobos and groups like that, and got written up in the magazines and periodicals and newspapers, and You know, I was also
Yeah.
media ambassador for a UN program for a while. When I came out here on vacation, we had gala events with Paul McCartney, and
Oh, wow.
and so I worked in Hollywood press corps, which, you know, that's when I got really serious about interviewing people. And
I guess you'd have to at that point.
you know, it's funny, you know, I met Paul McCartney twice, and that same night, I'm having a conversation with Brian Wilson and with Jeff Lynne, you know, kind of in the lobby before the event.
Yeah.
Like just hanging out, like, you know, I'm talking to you, and no problem. I'm used to talking to people regardless, right?
Yeah.
But somehow, meeting Paul, I got nervous the first time. But, you know, and then the second time I wasn't. But
Yeah.
but it's weird, isn't that how some people just have that kind of impact, you know, because you're, you know, but yeah, I've since, you know, interviewed many people, and of all sorts. I did get an opportunity to interview Buddy Ebsen around that same
right
time
on.
before he died, because he was on the same label I was on. This
Oh,
album
okay.
here was released originally on Springbound,
Okay.
which was an Indiana online label originally. It's now on CD Baby.
I wasn't aware that Buddy Ebsen was a musician.
Yeah, and his album was released on the same label.
Huh.
So I got to do an interview with him over the phone, and it's great music, actually. I mean, he did a version of the theme song of the
Really?
Beverly Hillbillies TV
Very
show.
cool.
And in the interview, one day I'll publish it, you know, in a book. But at the end of the interview, he said to me, "So when are you going back to Indiana, Dan?" And I said, "Oh, leaving on Monday." At the time, I was, you know, still living in Indiana.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, here's one for the road. Well, doggies." That's how we ended
awesome.
the interview, and he's such a nice man.
That's cool.
So it's great when you get to meet people, you know, and they have incredible stories to tell, and so that was the music scene kind of fizzled out. I ended up getting a marketing degree from a university there, and quit my job and came back to California about 10 years ago. So, and fast forward, I needed a way to, you know, feel inspired again, and the, you know, the economy had tanked. As many people have heard me talk about that a lot on my show.
Yeah, I
And-
remember when that happened.
Wow.
It was bad news.
And I think the day that it actually officially did happen is the day I was actually back in California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, December 5th, 2007.
So you're saying it was your fault?
I guess so. But I thought, you know, I needed some inspiration. And I think being a media ambassador, you know, in the past, and then I got involved in the media team of Occupy Los Angeles.
Oh,
But around that time, I started writing a book, because I'd been playing around with the character Nowman from my rock theater group of characters, and I thought, superhero of the present moment, that I like that vibe of that character. I just haven't done anything with it, you know, really.
Yeah.
So I started saying, I'll start just writing something like it's a journal, right? So I literally started writing one day at a time, like even just a little bit, or, you know, and just kind of spontaneously, until I felt like I got at least 366 things.
Little entries.
Entries, and I think there's actually more than that, but and it just, you know, as what was going on in my life at that time, through how the character would perceive the world and what's going on.
Right.
And when Occupy happened, right, you know, as I was starting that process, like months later, you know, so I thought, this is perfect, because, you know, superheroes are all about changing the world and making it a better place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's perfect. You know what I mean? Because I can incorporate, you know, this whole in real time what's going on with
Yeah,
what
the
I'm
stuff
doing with
that's
Occupy.
happening around you every day.
Yeah, because I was down there at Occupy probably 30 some days.
Oh, wow.
You know, anywhere from like 2 hours to 10 hours a day, right? So I was really involved in a lot of stuff. I was even one of the primary organizers of Occupy the Rose Parade, which happened after the encampment phase.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that.
There's definitely a lot I could do a whole show about Occupy. There was a lot going on that people didn't hear about, folks.
Well, yeah, it was a much more widespread than just America. I mean, the stuff was going on at various places around the world.
Oh yeah, I have friends that occupy London now. I mean, it's just that's still friends with them, or one person anyway.
Yeah.
So it really helped establish a lot of relationships some that are ongoing to this day. So. So that inspired, I think a lot of getting the book done. And then I finally got to a point where I said, okay, it's done. 2013, self-published it, put it out there, and it's called The Universe According to Nowman. So my brother Jay Wander did all the artwork for all three of these things. Just incredible stuff. The album covers, book cover, and insert art. And just fantastic, being able to work with my very talented brother, who should be an internationally known artist, if you ask me.
No, it's definitely cool stuff. And
then it motivated me once I learned about the studio to come here and do a TV show, and I took a year to create the Nowman Show. Which just made sense. It just had a nice ring to it.
Yeah, you already had the infrastructure set up for it.
So, yeah, and I thought arts, entertainment, education, news, and then because of what was happening at the time with the left progressive, people know now as the left progressives, and how they weren't getting enough coverage, starting with Bernie Sanders. As well as particularly the issues and the policies of the left progressives were not getting enough attention.
Yeah, if Bernie wasn't getting enough coverage, the actual issues certainly weren't.
That's absolutely correct. And that's why I was motivated to include that as a fifth element in the show, because I interviewed people like Stevie Wonder's Grammy Award-winning producer engineer was in here, also Mike Farrell from MASH, talking about his one-man play. Denny Tedesco, the director of the Wrecking Crew film about the LA session musicians.
Great
Don
film.
Randy, who was one of those musicians, and I interviewed him in this room. I've also interviewed out in the field Dennis Kucinich, Ann Coulter. I've had live bands in here.
What was interviewing Ann Coulter like?
Well, she predicted that Donald Trump would become the president. And when I asked her who she thought the vice presidential pick should be, she mentioned Chris Kobach, who's now in the news because he's the guy that came up with that E-Verify.
Oh, okay.
That's a software program that now businesses can use to see if they could potentially be hiring an illegal alien. And I saw that. I won't mention the name of the pizza place. But I saw a sign on the outside today that said, we use E-Verify here. Like, ooh, that is creepy. But anyway.
It's I don't know why you would do that around here. Like, that's got to be a business killer in these parts of town.
Yeah, but I saw it today. I'm not kidding you. I did a double take, like, what? But yeah, I do have a clip from the Nowman Show if you'd like to see a little
Absolutely,
bit of it.
Yeah. If we could get the clip from the Nowman Show pulled up. This is your current project. You've interviewed a bunch of cool people on it, and
this is just a few samples.
Yeah, and it's been inspirational to me personally.
Thank you very much.
It definitely lends a view of what is capable within what the possibilities are in these walls. So
yes, exactly.
Very cool to see. We're just waiting for it to get queued up. There we go.
The wind will change. The water main will break. Risks happen, and so you got to kind of always be trying to get more surplus, more profits, because the more you have, the safer you are to face any eventuality. It's built into the system that the capitalist's anxiety about keeping his or her hands on that surplus means you got to use the surplus to build your company to get more surplus and therefore become safer. And so the system has built into it not just the need to get as much surplus as possible, but to grow the enterprise, to build it out. Because if you don't, you risk collapse, disaster.
Hello, this is
Niswander, and you're watching The Nowman Show. And today I'm here with David Bowie's piano man, Mike Garson. Hello, it's great to see you again.
Likewise.
This is fantastic. So a lot has happened, actually, since we were last in this room together. The David Bowie celebration concert I attended at the Wiltern.
Sting was kind of a wild highlight both nights. He was supposed to come just one night. He liked it so much he came back. And he sang, I think, Lazarus, right?
And he did Black Star.
Anyone who has the real jazz sensibility tends to like to create in the moment.
And you are obviously a medical doctor. What is the best way going forward to get a single payer in this country? Most countries have that, and we need it too.
Exactly. We need it, and we can afford it, in fact, because it doesn't cost any more than what we are paying right now. It simply ensures that our healthcare dollars are paying for healthcare, not for health profiteering. We need a healthcare system that is established for people, not for making profit. So again, this is all a matter of achieving critical mass. We need to come together as the many movements we are for health justice, for climate justice, for racial and economic and LGBT justice, and women's justice. When we get together with the courage of our convictions, we're unstoppable.
And so, yeah, at the very end of that clip, we see all of your different characters and costuming and all
some of the
that kind
guests
stuff.
that have been on the show.
Yeah.
Either here in the studio or out in the field. So.
But yeah, I mean, those are some pretty heavy hitters you'd have had on your show. You got Jill Stein, the first man that was talking, the economy.
Richard Wolff.
Richard Wolff, yes.
His show is also here on the Arroyo Channel as well.
Yeah, which you helped facilitate bringing that here, correct?
Bringing it in from Manhattan, yeah. And it's on, and my show follows his show on Saturdays.
Very cool.
First, runs.
And then that's, now does that time change, or is it always Saturday morning?
Always Saturday morning and night, 7, his show is 7 a.m., mine's 7:30 a.m. and p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're watching in the local Pasadena area, it's a good economy lesson, and then you get to see Dan afterwards doing the Nowman Show.
And also too, I'm on there's 2 different Nowman Show channels on YouTube. The first one is the Nowman Show on the Arroyo Channel, and that's all the content that you'll see, broadcasting on the Arroyo Channel. Okay. Right. And then I have another one that's kind of work in progress called the Nowman Show, just by itself. And like I said, that's a work in progress, so there will be some additional fun things there too.
Nice. Get the outtakes and the deleted scenes.
And things you won't see on broadcast. You may or may not see them broadcast on TV too.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Right on. So, in your opinion, with the few minutes that we have left, what are some issues that you're looking to cover next, either politically or around the community or anything like that on your show?
Thank you for that question. Coalition building, I think, is really important at this point, and to know how to do that, because one of the reasons why I picked left progressive issues as well as left progressive people to interview on the show is because that's been missing from the discussion. And I've said even in live streams that people think that left center is left, and then all the way to the right wing, and then the actual real left is usually left out of the discussion. So that needs to be brought, first and foremost to people's attention, that look, there are left perspectives, and also too, social democracy or democratic socialism, however you want to interpret that, is akin to FDR's New Deal, which was a first step towards making the world a better place, but not the final step, which a lot of people need to understand that as well. So I want to make that part of the discussion going forward. And creating coalitions, particularly wherever it can work, but maybe with the left in particular, because it seems like they're scattered all over the place.
Yeah, it seems like the right wing is much better at doing that, and they have all the think tanks and the coalitions, and and this like cohesiveness of like, all right, well, whatever it is, we're just going to do this. And there's a lot more bickering on the left of like, well, no, this is more important, and no, this is more important. And it seems like a lot less organized.
Yeah, and you know, and it's also, you know, equivalated with sports. Like, we have to have winners and losers. So if you look at it from that angle, the right wing is definitely winning. So
Right.
if you can't win if you have too many issues to focus on. Now, one of the great things about Occupy was that all those issues were focused around economic justice. Dr. King did with the Poor People's Campaign in 1968. So that's got to be brought back, which it has been. I think there's 5 issues that we can create coalitions on. I cover those real quick. Anti-war, anti-poverty, fascism, but anti-racism. Those come from Dr. King's original Poor People's Campaign in 1968. But in 2018, we've added environmental justice. The 5th issue, which is unique to the U.S., I think needs to be getting the money out of politics. And that's corporate money, not public money.
Right.
Like Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez have done. That's, I think, what we need to create coalitions around, and we need to be adamant about it because there's not enough people that are willing to come together and do that, not be complacent and not be ignorant, and we need to actually get there and do that if we want to see the world get better.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not enough people, and this has been my thing in past episodes of the show, is that all of this stuff is there to be known. All of the history, all of the past political maneuverings are in the historical record for anyone who wants to learn them. To like, all of this ignorance is completely unnecessary these days. So yeah, all of that being said, we're running out of time.
Yeah, I wish we had more time.
Absolutely. Well, you'll have to just come back one of these days.
I'd love to, and you'll have to come on my show too.
It would be an honor. So yeah, thank you again. I want to thank Mr. Dan Niswander of the Nowman Show right here on Pasadena Media. And we're going to be coming back to you next time with more weird stuff.
I love it.
And yeah, in the meantime, wherever you're going, get there safe. See you next time. Bye.